Attention, stations on the network. Our broadcast will begin in 15 minutes from my mark. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. That was your 15-minute time check, stations. Attention, stations on the network. Our broadcast will begin in 10 minutes from my mark. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. That was your 10-minute time check, stations. Attention, stations on the network. Our broadcast will begin in 5 minutes from my mark. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. That was your 5-minute time check, stations. Attention, stations on the network. Our broadcast will begin in 2 minutes from my mark. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. That was your 2-minute time check, stations. Attention, stations on the network. Our broadcast will begin in 1 minute from my mark. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. That was your 1-minute time check, stations.
on the Hawkeye Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. This is Hawk Talk, presented by View Rooftop Iowa City. Also brought to you by Bud Light. Whenever there's a game to watch, there's a Bud Light there. Ford, inviting you to visit your local Ford store or buyfordnow.com. U.S. Bank, helping individuals and businesses work toward their financial goals. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. U.S. Cellular. U.S. Cellular is proud to be the official wireless sponsor of the Iowa Hawkeyes. U.S. Cellular, connecting Hawkeye Nation. And by Iowa Secretary of State. Visit voterready.iowa.gov and be a voter. Now, here is your host, the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Good evening, everybody, from our broadcast booth at Kinnick Stadium. I'm Gary Dolphin. Welcome to Hawk Talk. Iowa football coach Kirk Ferentz will be joining us here in a little while at the top of the hour, and we'll be hearing from Penn State's outstanding longtime play-by-play voice for football and basketball, Steve Jones, our good buddy Steve Jones, who's not in a good mood these days, nor is James Franklin, nor are the Penn State Nittany Lions. But we'll talk about that. We're elated because the Hawkeyes get to go to Happy Valley happy on a 2-game win streak after dispatching the Minnesota Golden Gophers last Friday night up in Minneapolis at TCF Bank Stadium. Old Floyd of Rosedale hopped back on the equipment truck for the ride back to Iowa City. And that 85-year-old bronze pig is moving around like he hasn't moved around in quite some time. He's got a little giddy up to his step as he's back in Johnson County munching on an extra corn of Iowa-grown food. So congratulations to the Hawkeyes. Just when we thought things were struggling to the point of no return, at least some of the fan base was, the Hawks have roared back with impressive consecutive victories over Michigan State, 49 points put on the scoreboard here at Kinnick Stadium prior to the Minnesota game, and then went up to Minneapolis and hung 35 on the Gophers. And for the second straight week, all three phases were spectacular: offense, defense, and certainly special teams. And we'll talk about that over the next 90 minutes. Of course, we'd like to have you check in with us on Twitter or Facebook. We'll give you those social media addresses so you can check in with a question or a comment for the head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Kirk Ferentz. But an impressive 35-7 victory over Iowa on Friday night. Now the Hawks are flying high with momentum. The guys are feeling good about their game, good about themselves, and now they need to carry it over and perform again like they did on Friday night or week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Saturday here against the Michigan State Spartans, because I can promise you that record shows 0-4 for Penn State. They're far from an 0-4 football team when you look at their talent. They could be a 4-0 football team, but they have been bitten by the turnover bug. They have given up a bunch of points off turnovers. Again, that happened in the first half against Nebraska last Saturday in a 30-23 defeat. Nebraska roared out to a big halftime lead. Penn State then held Nebraska to a field goal in the second half, outscored the Cornhuskers 17-3. Got close, was driving late in the game to perhaps tie the game up, but turned it over on downs. They've got a little bit of a quarterback issue there, but we'll talk about that as the evening gets later and later. But Penn State has lost to Indiana on opening day in overtime, 36-35 on the road. And as we're finding out, Indiana, top 10 ranked team, is legit with Michael Penix at quarterback. Then they lost at Ohio State to the Buckeyes, at home to the Buckeyes, 38-25 out at Beaver Stadium in a Saturday night clash. The following week, I think it was what caught everybody off guard. Maryland roared out to an early lead and rolled the Nittany Lions 35-19. Now, we've learned Maryland isn't a bad football team. What you saw on opening day for the Terps, it was far from the real truth. They roared back to beat Minnesota in overtime, and then rolled Penn State, and then of course last Saturday in Lincoln, the Nittany Lions lost to Nebraska 30-23. You got to go back to the turn of this century to find the last time that Penn State has lost 4 straight to start the season. So they are going to be in a salty mood this Saturday for that kick in Pennsylvania. We'll be on there at 12:30. Get my time zone straight here. 12:30 for the pregame coverage and 2:30 Iowa time for the kickoff. The Hawkeyes at Penn State. Penn State has a 6-game winning streak going against Iowa. If that isn't motivation enough for the Hawkeyes, and a bunch of these players on this Iowa team have been here for a couple of those heartbreakers, those absolutely gut-wrenching defeats. I remember the one that still gnaws at me in 2017, quarterback Trace McSorley threw a walk-off touchdown on the last play of the game right down here in the north end zone. And the Hawkeyes lost an absolute excruciatingly painful 21-19 game on Saturday night, the last play of the game. The Nittany Lions defense came up big in 2018 as safety Nick Scott made an interception on 1st and goal at the 3-yard line with 3 minutes to go, and that preserved a 30-24 win out in Happy Valley. Now, the Hawks have had their moments. Of course, everybody wants to talk about Danny Murray's field goal 10, 12 years ago right here at Kinnick Stadium that beat Penn State on the final few seconds of the game. So back and forth we've gone, but the bottom line is the Nittany Lions have won way more than they've lost against the Hawkeyes, and close doesn't count, as you know, in football. So Iowa will be ready. They'll be prepared. I love the way Phil Parker's defense is playing. I love the way Torrey Taylor's punting the football. We'll give you his numbers. Wait till we run those by you because it's a head turner, let me tell you. We're sponsored tonight and each and every Wednesday night, Hawk Talk with Kirk Ferentz, by our friends at View Rooftop. Now, normally we would be downtown on top of the Hilton Garden Inn with that beautiful panoramic view of Iowa City and Johnson County from View Rooftop Restaurant. But because of the COVID, we're here snuggled in at Kinnick Stadium. Coach Ferentz will be in his office across the parking lot at the Hanson Performance Center here in just a little bit. And that is life as we know it. Thankfully, that vaccine, they say, has been discovered, several vaccines. And hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll have a much better picture as to when we can all get that shot and we can hopefully watch our lives return to a degree of normalcy. But next year, next season, we will be back at View Rooftop. It's a great experience, unique to Iowa City, really. Immerse yourself in an invigorating environment with comfortable contemporary indoor and outdoor seating, high-definition televisions for watching the game, and live music as well. Enjoy the camaraderie and celebrate with a toast at View Rooftop. That's V-U-E, View Rooftop, inside the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Iowa City. Here's the phone number for reservations this holiday, Thanksgiving, or for Christmas, 319-519-4650, 319-519-4650. We're also brought to you tonight by Bud Light. Wherever there's a Hawkeye game to watch, whenever and wherever there's a Bud Light nearby. We'll step out, take our first break. When we come back, we will visit with the voice of the Penn State Nittany Lions, Steve Jones, about Iowa, Penn State this weekend. You're listening to Hawk Talk with Kirk Ferentz.
Looking for a new truck or SUV? Hurry into your local Northland Ford dealer or visit buyfordnow.com, where you'll save big on the full lineup of 2020 Ford models, like the completely redesigned Escape and Explorer, the powerful Edge, the roomy Ford Expedition, or America's best-selling truck, Ford F-150. Buy now and get low financing on the Ford truck or SUV that's built for all of life's biggest adventures. Get to your local Northland Ford dealer or visit buyfordnow.com today. Best-selling truck claim based on 2019 CY sales.
Primary care providers should be able to look at patients, read between the lines, and know something's not right. Hi, I'm Dr. Denise Martinez at University of Iowa Healthcare. 80% of conditions can be treated by a family medicine doctor, so our comprehensive and caring approach is key. And if it turns out to be serious or out of our scope, we'll connect you to the right specialists right away. With experts all across the region, find one near you at uihc.org.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck to a backhoe without wasting any time at all. So you can haul gravel, till soil, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Stop by your local John Deere dealer for a test drive today or learn more at Deere.com. Your Iowa John Deere dealers, proud sponsors of Iowa football.
Hi, I'm Gary Dolphin, and if you want your home to be exceptionally comfortable during these cold Iowa winters and hot, humid summers, you need to turn to Dave Lennox and your local Lennox home comfort specialist. Lennox has been serving Iowa consumers since 1895, when Dave Lennox built his first furnace in Marshalltown, and Lennox is still building its high-efficiency furnaces and air conditioners there today. For the best home comfort system you can buy, it's Lennox and your local Lennox dealer. Lennox and the Hawkeyes. Now there's a winning combination.
Tomorrow. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, as we have for over 100 years. So you can look forward to it too. Through growth and innovation, we are planning ahead, so you can enjoy life without looking back. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Auto, home, farm, and business insurance. Talk to an agent today or visit GrinnellMutual.com. Trust in tomorrow is a registered trademark of Grinnell Mutual Reinsurance Company.
What does Julie, who runs a thriving local business, have in common with the starting quarterback? They both know how to hustle. As a small business owner, you rise before the sun and push till well after it sets. Outpace and defy expectations. Every quarterback needs a great team. UPS is here to support the hustle with tools and expert advice to help you be unstoppable. Visit ups.com/pivot for details. UPS, the official logistics partner of the Hawkeyes. Welcome back to View Rooftop, sponsorship of Hawk Talk with Iowa football coach Kirk Ferentz. If you have a question or a comment for Kirk about last week or this season, you can reach us on Twitter at Gary Dolphin or Facebook.com/Voice of the Hawks. You can watch tonight's show on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Search the Hawkeye Radio Network on YouTube or KCRG 9.2. We appreciate all of those entities for providing you with visual coverage of Hawk Talk with the head coach of the Hawkeyes. We've got questions for the head man at the Penn State University Nittany Lion broadcast booth, and he's equally important than anything else that gets done out there, and that would be Steve Jones, the longtime radio voice, play-by-play voice of Penn State football and basketball. Jonesy, good evening.
My good friend. How are you, Gary? It is so great to be on with the esteemed voice of the Hawkeye.
Well, listen, the feeling is mutual. Great university, great conference. We always have fun hooking up. Ed Podolak, my analyst, as you know, and, of course, the great Jack Ham, all those Super Bowl rings, but he was such a great college player as well. But the Chiefs and the Steelers batted helmets more than a few times during those two careers when Podolak, the great running back with Kansas City, and Hambone, the Hall of Fame linebacker of the Steelers, tracked him down. Boy, I tell you, those were fun games to watch. But how's Jack doing? Is that old body hanging together all right?
Oh, he's doing great. He's probably in better shape now than he has at the end of a long time in his life. He feels great. And, yes, he and Podolak have already talked this week. So you and I are talking tonight. Ed and Jack have already talked this week, and between the four of us, we have solved many problems.
We have always been the best prepared for this game because of our friendships down through the years. And, hey, I tell you, 0-4 is not what I usually hear or what we hear out here in Iowa when you're relating it to Penn State football. I know the turnovers have been a factor, have been a real sore spot. What are you seeing in the first 4 weeks, first month of this weird 2020 season?
Turnovers in combination with the slow starts. That's been a big problem. Penn State, in each of the last three games, Gary, the opponent has scored on the opening drive of the game. Not only that, when Penn State's offense has gone onto the field for its second possession of the game in each of the last three games, they've been down 2 scores. Then the game settles down, and they play really well. They're down 14-0 to Ohio State. They outscored them the rest of the way 25-24. It doesn't matter. You didn't win. You're down to Maryland, 28-0. You outscore them 19-7 the rest of the way. Doesn't matter, you didn't win. Last week, down 27-6. Outscore them 17-6 the rest of the way. But again, doesn't matter, you didn't win. So for whatever reason, it takes them a little bit to get out of the gate, and the slow starts have hurt them because they've played the last 12 quarters playing uphill. And you and I both know, Gary, with all the games we've done, how hard mentally it is to do that. So they need to get out of the gate. And part of that has been turnovers. You mentioned the turnovers. Indiana, 3 first-half turnovers, opened the gate to Indiana leading 17-7. Then the game settles down. Ohio State, there was 1 turnover late, doesn't matter. The big fumble against Maryland for a touchdown, run back for a touchdown. That was the one that put the nail in it. And then last week, Nebraska had 10 points off of takeaways. So those have been 2 of the primary problems because Penn State, once the game settled down, they had 501 yards in total offense last week. They had 488 against Indiana. So, I mean, they've moved the ball. It's just a question now of being the team that sets the tone in the game.
Steve Jones, the fine, outstanding, longtime play-by-play voice of Penn State football with us here on Hawk Talk with Kirk Ferentz. Sean Clifford, I've watched him for a couple of years now. He has just killed the Hawkeyes. Penn State really has had the Hawks' numbers in close games or 2 touchdown wins. They've just had the Hawks' number here the last 5 years, Steve. But why the disruption of quarterback? What's wrong with Sean Clifford, if anything?
Well, I think in the last 2 games, he's had the 2 fumbles that were run back for touchdowns. I mean, that's directly really on him. He has 6 interceptions so far. And again, the turnover thing is just not going to be acceptable for anybody along the way. So James decided after falling behind in the game, after the fumble return for a touchdown, which is the second in 2 weeks, as I mentioned, he said, you know what, let's just change things up. Let's just bring Levis in. Let's see what Levis can do. Let Sean watch a little bit and then take it from there. And I think that's been the primary thing. It's not like Sean hasn't had moments where he's moved the ball or thrown the ball well. He ran for 119 yards against Indiana. But I think James wanted to give an opportunity to kind of sit back and say, look, just settle down. We'll go with him for a little bit. Let's see what happens. And Levis, to his credit, stepped in and played pretty well last week.
He sure did. I'm looking at his numbers, 14 for 31. With a long of 74, and he's got a toughness about him that I really like. Let him down the field there at the end of the game. It just they turned it over on downs, as I remember. Time ran out, but Sean Clifford's thrown 9 touchdowns. He scored 9 touchdowns, so it's not like he's forgotten where the end zone is. But boy, those turnovers can be the be-all, end-all. We're talking with Steve Jones, the outstanding play-by-play voice of the Penn State Nittany Lions. You do have a great tight end. We know what great tight ends are out here at Iowa, and Pat Fryermuth has had an incredible career, just a junior, but I know he's going to be gone at the end of this year. He's a Mackey Award candidate. He'll be a finalist, but 6'5", 260 pounds. He's a special player.
He is a special player, but Iowa knows all about that. Because Jack Ham and I sat there and said, exactly when is Dallas Clark leaving? When is T.J. Hawkinson leaving? When's Noah Fant leaving? I mean, you guys have broken the mold on great tight ends out there in Iowa. And Pat Fryermuth would be somebody that Kirk would really appreciate. He blocks, excellent hands. Really good tight ends, as you and I both know, Dolph, are guys that are too quick for a linebacker to handle, but they're too big for a safety to handle. So that's what makes a really good tight end. And and I'm not telling you things that Iowa fans don't know. All of you have gone to Kinnick Stadium and lived it for decades, seeing great tight ends. And Fryermuth is very much in that mold. And not only that, he could have opted out. He didn't. They're off to a rough start. Could have opted out. Hasn't. I mean, this guy has been not only a really good player, he's been intensely loyal, and I think a lot of people really respect that.
A word about the defense before you go. I don't want the 30 points a game given up by Penn State to cloud the fact that turnovers have led to many of those points. The defense, I look down and I see Shakatoni, Mustafer, Jason Owe, Lucada, Brandon Smith, Tariq Castro Fields in the back end. This Penn State defense is legit, I feel anyway, Steve. Are they keeping their heads up?
They're keeping their heads up, Dolph. I think that's been important, as you and I both know. you're right, the talent's there. I mean, Jason Owe, Mustapher, Shelton, Tony, Jesse Lucchetta, Brandon Smith, Ellis Brooks, Castro Fields, Joey Porter Jr. I think he's got a bright future as a corner there. Brisker at safety, Wade at safety. I mean, these are all names that you're familiar with. But I think not having the X factor, the eraser of Micah Parsons out there has been something that you have to overcome. He's a special athletic talent that when a mistake is made, he can make up for it. So I think that's what's happened with them. You're right. Short fields have been a problem. I mean, they've held two teams under 300 yards, Indiana and Nebraska. They held them under 300. And Maryland got virtually nothing in the second half of the game here. That's interesting because, in the history of Penn State football, all the games they've had, they've only lost two games ever where they had over 450 yards and gave up less than 300. Isn't it both of them in the season? It's just been the most bizarre. I mean, I feel like I'm on Seinfeld, the bizarre world. But I'm seeing things that are really, really good, and then I'm seeing things that I can't explain. It's been something else.
Well, when you add that into the endings in this series, the last 5 years, whether it's Iowa or Penn State, I mean, it should make for an intriguing game on Saturday afternoon at Beaver Stadium. I mean, I know what it's like for an empty Kinnick Stadium on game day. I still can't get used to it. I can only imagine how lonely it is up in the press box at Beaver Stadium, where normally you got 110, 115,000 people.
Well, it's interesting because the first time when they played Ohio State was their first home game. So they come running out of the tunnel, and they said, hey, here come the Nittany Lions onto the field at Beaver Stadium. And I felt like Harry Doyle in Major League. And that Steve, he and the color guy are both applying, going, yeah, hey, way to go, yeah.
Bob Uecker was out there somewhere, right? Oh, my. Well,
holy mackerel.
Thank goodness it doesn't affect our play-by-play talent any, right?
Oh, never. And it's because of your great influence over the years I've been able to overcome a lot of things.
Hey, we still have Podolak and Ham. That's the main thing. So Steve Jones of the Penn State broadcast team, thanks so much for your time, Steve. I know you're busy. Appreciate it. We'll see you Saturday.
You are the best. You are the best. Think the world of you, buddy.
Likewise, Steve Jones, there he goes, the longtime play-by-play voice of the Penn State Nittany Lions. Man, has he seen some great football from that perch at Beaver Stadium, and to be working alongside Jack Ham, one of my heroes when I was growing up watching the NFL back in the 70s. Of course, I get the same tingling feeling sitting next to the great number 14 Ed Podolak. But I digress. Let's step out, take a break. We'll come back, talk some Iowa defense next on Hawk Talk with Kirk Ferentz, brought to you by View Rooftop.
American Equity salutes today's hero of the game and is a proud sponsor of the ongoing recognition of our military at Hawkeye Games this season. Thank you to all the men and women, past and present, who have served our country and allow all of us to enjoy the freedom and liberty we enjoy today. American Equity's vision is to become the premier insurance company specializing in retirement savings and income products. To learn more about our company, please visit our website at american-equity.com.
Farm Credit Services of America isn't just a lender that knows agriculture. We're a lender that serves agriculture. It's everything we do. So along with attractive rates, you'll find ag-friendly terms, services, and financial tools made just for you. You can also get the power of ownership, a voice in how we work, a stake in what we do, and a share of our net return. Call us. We're Farm Credit Services of America. Agriculture works here.
Like any winning team, it takes every part of EMC Insurance Companies working together to successfully ensure that our agents, policyholders, and employees can count on EMC. And they do. They count on our broad range of insurance products and services. They count on our superior level of personalized service, and they trust that we will continue to be a financially stable partner, just like we have been for more than 100 years. All of this makes EMC one of the nation's premier insurance companies, and that's something you can always count on.
Small businesses across Iowa are continuing to show up for you. They're adapting, they're donating, they're keeping their doors and their hearts open to assist their employees and serve their customers, just like they always have. Small businesses are the backbone of Iowa's communities, and they're backed by Iowa banks. With helpful advice, affordable loans, and essential financial services, banks across Iowa are showing small businesses the way to a stronger tomorrow. Learn more at iowabankers.com.
Whew. Sometimes being an office printer feels like I'm competing in an Olympic sport. Thankfully, I have Marco's Managed Print Services on my team. Marco's game plan helps me make big plays while saving big bucks. And Marco's lightning fast tech support gets me back in the game fast. I'm up. Find out what your printers could be saying with Marco's Managed Print Services at marconet.com.
Imagine a virtual club that's free to join, where the fun never stops and where there's always something new and exciting happening. It's the Prize Zone, a special part of the Iowa Lottery VIP Club that'll make your VIP experience even VIP-ier. Members can enter Prize Zone drawings for cash, technology, lottery tickets, concert tickets, and sports ticket prizes all day, every day, all year long. Get rules and complete details at ialottery.com. Join today and see what's waiting for you in the VIP Club Prize Zone.
Tanner on second down 10, Tanner Morgan. Oh, a good stunt by Evans, forces him outside. He's grabbed and sacked by Van Valkenburg. What a 1-2 combo. That twosome is becoming quite the 1-2 combo. Zach Van Valkenburg, our star of the game Friday night in Minneapolis. He's got 16 tackles now through 4 games, 5 of those for loss, 3.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. Joe Evans on the other side, young sophomore from Ames. He has been so prominent in getting pressure on the quarterback. Zach Van Valkenburg led the way the other night, though. He had 3 of Iowa's 4 sacks, and he liked the energy the guys brought on that side of the ball.
Yeah, it was a really good team effort. There were some long drives out there, but I was really happy with how we stayed together and how we really pulled together when it mattered. Whether it's you and Joe Evans or Chauncey Golston, in fact, Eddie and I were talking in our pregame show. One of the keys tonight was not only how active you guys have been with your stunts and your twists and your movement in getting to the quarterback, but how you've improved game to game as you get to know each other a little bit better, huh? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something we focus on as a unit, as a defense. Every week getting a lot better, frankly. It was kind of rough the first 2 weeks, and we really just tried to focus on improving every day in practice, and that's really shown up on the weekends.
It looks like you, said Podolak here, looks like you guys are doing a few more games than you did earlier in the year with tackle in twists and coming around underneath. It looked like it drove them crazy tonight. Yeah, that does challenge some offensive lines, and as we've gained chemistry, it's been a lot easier to do that, and obviously it works out really well. Did you know anything about playing for the prize pig when you're up in Michigan? I'd heard about it, but not as much as I know now. It's obviously very important to me now. Well, the little brown jug between Michigan and Minnesota is also important too, isn't it? Huh? Yeah, I was a little more familiar with that. Not that I ever was a Michigan fan. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. The Big Ten is full of great trophy games like this. On the field, you certainly knew about Tanner Morgan and about Ibrahim. Those were the 2 guys you had to stop. I mean, Bateman's a solid wide receiver, but they're all about running the football this year. Yeah, absolutely. We knew that coming into the game, that's what they want to do. Just like us, they're a hard-nosed football team, and we knew we had to stop the run if we were going to be successful in that. Zach Van Valkenburg, our star of the game, on Iowa's 35-7 win over the Minnesota Golden Gophers tonight. Ed, you were a running back. When you see these quick defensive ends, tall and slender by defensive end standards, pretty impressive, huh? Well, yeah, great job. And I know this Ibrahim was really tough to tackle, wasn't he? He's really strong from the waist down. Yeah, absolutely. He's a really strong back. He really knows how to just get into the hole and get a couple extra yards. So I was really happy with how we performed against that tonight. I'm delighted your GPS locked into Iowa City when you were trying to figure out where to go when you transferred. What's the story there? What brought you to the University of Iowa? Yeah, so primarily I had finished my degree and I was looking to further my
educational career, but, I got to Iowa City and I just saw that, KF and the staff here were just great individuals, great people, and that really is that sold me. That's the biggest thing for me.
Well, we're glad you found your way down the interstate. Zach Van Valkenburg is our star of the game, along with Tyler Goodson. That's got to be impressive when you're on the sideline watching Goodson run the football in the Iowa running game in general, huh? Oh, absolutely. It's nice when you can just ground and pound it all game. Definitely takes a lot of stress off of us, especially with some long drives that we had to endure. And obviously, it's demoralizing for a defense. So you've weathered the frustration of a no spring ball, a shortened off season, 2 really close losses, 2 games you could have won. You're back to 2-2 now, level 500, headed to Penn State. Boy, how quickly your mood can change, huh? Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we've been focused on improving every week. So, it's no surprise to us that things have started to go well. Obviously you can look back and say, we should have done better. But, at this point, we're looking forward to each, every game after this. An articulate young guy, to say the least. Bright, majoring, I think Kirk told me, in Russian studies. And he is a special football player, becoming better each and every week at that defensive end spot. Zach Van Valkenburg, our star of the game from that Minnesota postgame the other night. Really enjoyed talking to him, and Tyler Goodson, for that matter. We'll talk Tyler's numbers here as we will welcome in Coach Kirk Ferentz in just a minute here on Hawk Talk from Iowa City, brought to you by View Rooftop at the Hilton Garden Inn. Let's pause, though, 10 seconds for station identification. 10-second ID break. You're listening to Hawk Talk with the head coach, Kirk Ferentz. Thanks to our flagship stations, WHO in Des Moines, WMT in Cedar Rapids, WOC in the Quad Cities, and here in Iowa City, KXIC. The coach is ready to go with us. We'll take a break and come back in a minute and talk to Kirk about a quick recap of what went on in Minneapolis the other night. And then, of course, we look on to Penn State Saturday, a 2:30 kick, 12:30 pregame coverage here on the Hawkeye Radio Network. We're brought to you tonight by Iowa's corn farmers. Still a few out in the field gathering in what's left of the harvest, get it into the corn drying bins. Noticed a few tractors out gathering up the fragments that are left on my way down to the show tonight. Iowa's corn farmers and the Corn Growers Association and the Iowa Corn Promotion Board want to thank you for supporting farmers. It's no secret it's been a tough year for everybody, but your support has not gone unnoticed. Every time you've chosen to fuel up with cleaner burning fuels like E15 or unleaded 88, you make a difference for a corn farmer. It may seem like a small gesture, but it makes a difference to our state and shows we are stronger together. Talk to Coach Ferentz right after this pause on Hawk Talk.
Get your ice cold Bud Light Seltzer here. Even though you can't go to the game, doesn't mean the game can't be brought to you now, hip. Just go to budlight.com/delivery. That's budlight.com/delivery.
Give me 2 mangoes.
Coming at you. It's a little short. Ow. Sorry. You know what? I'm just going to walk them over to you.
Whenever there's a game to watch, there's a Bud Light there. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, and Bud Light Seltzer, IRC Beer in Texas, St. Louis, Missouri.
University of Iowa Healthcare urges you to follow the 3 W's to stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands often. More tips at uihc.org. University of Iowa Healthcare is here for you. For flu-like symptoms, call our 24-hour COVID-19 hotline at 319-384-9010 before seeing a provider.
MidAmerican Energy and you, together partnering to change the energy landscape by pioneering money-saving, energy efficiency programs and building a new industry in Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping your rates low. So what's next? We'll keep delivering cost-effective energy efficiency programs while putting money back in your pocket. That's right. You decide how best to spend your savings. That's a partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way we're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
It's been a long day. Your schedule's tight. Can we just take care of dinner for you? Of
Quickstar has take-home meals, not cheap flash frozen stuff, made from scratch, fresh, never frozen. Great quality because we make it ourselves. Grab a meal now to heat and eat later. Great kitchen cravings meals like fettuccine alfredo with grilled chicken, meatloaf with mashed potatoes and gravy, roast turkey with dressing and mashed potatoes. I feel a meal, a great family meal coming on that you didn't even have to cook. Quickstar, we got you covered.
Hi, I'm Gary Dolphin, and if you want your home to be exceptionally comfortable during these cold Iowa winters and hot, humid summers, you need to turn to Dave Lennox and your local Lennox home comfort specialist. Lennox has been serving Iowa consumers since 1895, when Dave Lennox built his first furnace in Marshalltown, and Lennox is still building its high-efficiency furnaces and air conditioners there today. For the best home comfort system you can buy, it's Lennox and your local Lennox dealer. Lennox and the Hawkeyes. Now there's a winning combination.
Now order your groceries online and get them even faster with Hy-Vee Aisles Online same-day pickup. Just choose the Get It Faster option for only $9.95 and pick up your groceries in as little as 2 hours. Plus, we've added even more pickup times to choose from. You'll find the same great deals as in-store. Free pickup on orders over $30 and no-contact pickup and delivery. Download the Hy-Vee Grocery app today and pick up groceries in as little as 2 hours. Some restrictions apply.
Hawks at Penn State on Saturday afternoon here on the Hawkeye Radio Network. Gary Dolphin, Ed Podolak. Thanks for joining us tonight on Hawk Talk with Coach Ferentz from Iowa City, brought to you by View Rooftop and U.S. Cellular, proud to be the official wireless sponsor of the Iowa Hawkeyes. U.S. Cellular, connecting Hawkeye Nation. Let's welcome in Kirk from his office over at the Hanson Performance Center. A couple days to work out the bumps and bruises from that Minnesota win on Friday night. Kirk, somewhat of a normal week. You got an extra day this past weekend. Did the guys enjoy that? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I think everybody did, certainly. It's nice to do it after a win. I'm not so sure how much fun it'd be if you lose the game Friday night, but, compacted last week. The week itself last week was start to finish pretty quick. Altered our schedule a little bit, obviously, but the nice part was, we got back here. I think most of us were home by 1:30, 2 o'clock, and the players had the day off entirely. Coaches were pretty much on their own to get their film graded, and then we met Sunday morning a little bit earlier. And but the nice thing is, we got to watch everybody else work on Saturday after knowing that our team had really done a good job the night before, and gave everybody a little bit extra rest and gave us a jump on getting ready for this week. So the fact that we're traveling this week, it makes it a little bit easier. So I think our preparation has moved right along, and it was all good.
Kirk, back-to-back weeks of all three phases. It was almost a repeat performance of the Michigan State game. All three sides of the football, special teams, offense, defense, really performed admirably.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing about all of it. First of all, I think we're practicing better the last couple of weeks, and teams learn how to practice just like they learn anything else. So there's a process to everything. But our guys are doing a great job. Our leaders are really giving us good leadership, and I think everybody's tempo's picked up, certainly. And then that's carried over to the game field. And, again, I think probably the most pleasing thing you touched on, it's all three phases working together. It hasn't just been one particular area, although obviously in a game you have points where certain areas shine and others may drop a little bit. But I think overall we've just played pretty good team complementary football. And you probably have to start with the kicking game. I think that's really been a constant the last 2 weeks, and has really given us, I think, a little bit of an edge in terms of the competition.
2 weeks in a row, you've had a player of the week, Charlie Jones, a couple of weeks ago, punt return specialist, and then you just heard part of our interview with Zach Van Valkenburg with his 3 sacks. I know he would share those with a lot of his line mates, but young guy from the state of Michigan, senior, transferred in, and I know you're happy about that and happy about his performance. He's a terrific young guy.
Yeah, you think about Charlie, and Torrey Taylor could have been the co-MVP, I think, very easily. So 3 newcomers, if you will, guys that weren't here in the program for a long time, that really made a big impact on our football team. Certainly great to see Charlie elevate his play. And Zach had a tremendous game the other night, and I think that's just the accumulation of him being here, learning the system, learning how to play in the system, and he's really, I think, just looks a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident out there. He's always given good effort, so now it's starting to really fall in place for him. And the other story there is, I think we learned this back in 2002. When you have a little success, there's a little bit more chance for individual recognition. And certainly the last 2 weeks, our units have played well, and we've been fortunate to have some guys cited by the conference just for their play.
2 more interceptions, Riley Moss and Jack Kerner, big interceptions. Moss was really critical, led to a score. That's 61 interceptions since 2017. Iowa leads the nation, most interceptions in 3 years and 4+ games. And Phil Parker keeps dialing it up properly. Now, I know some of that has to do with going to the cash back position or playing more defensive backs. The league has become more of a throwing league, but you still got to study tape. You've still got to make plays out there in that secondary, and your guys they've been spectacular.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. A lot of it is just, film study and then, being a good fundamental player. And, you hear people talk about they have a drill for this, drill for that. I'm pretty sure we don't have a turnover drill, or else they don't do it when I'm at practice. But I wish it was that easy. But I think really it's just, it's a bunch of guys working hard and playing well together. And, the film study, knowledge, experience, that always plays in. It makes players play faster, and they get a little bit of an edge if they anticipate ahead of time. You can't guess, but you can anticipate and, be thinking football. And it's amazing how things you see in film study will show up again on the game field sometimes. So, give our guys a lot of credit in that back end. They've done a great job getting their hands on the ball and then bringing it in. And that sounds easier than maybe it is to execute sometimes. Also, the guys up front, getting pressure on the quarterback and, maybe disrupting his timing, that type of thing. So he's throwing the ball a little quicker than he wants to, or, in a position where he's not totally comfortable. And all those little things add up to good things. And, it's just a real credit to the entire defensive unit and the coaches for what's been going on there.
We were excited a couple of weeks ago to see Seth Benson get back on the field from his injury, and all he did was post 26 tackles in 2 weeks. And then last Friday night was Jack Campbell's baptism, his debut as a Hawkeye, and boy, he didn't disappoint. Five tackles, all solo. He maybe tried to do too much, but I'm sure he was a little excited.
That's his first real college action where he's in there, and with the varsity. So, it's just good to see him get his feet wet out there to get started again. He's not in great shape physically yet, where he could play 75, 80 snaps. That'll come because he's in tremendous shape before the medical situation. So, good to get him back. No question about that. And Seth did a great job also upon his return. So the good news is that we're establishing some depth. Barrington and Nick were playing really well prior to that. Now you get those 2 guys back in the mix, and that gives us 4 guys that we feel pretty comfortable with at any time, at any of the positions, basically. Not every guy's interchangeable, but at least Barrington's got a lot of flexibility. Nick does too. So as does Seth. So it's a good, healthy mix right now. And we're going to need that because, playing good defense is certainly very, very helpful for our team having success.
Kirk, offensively, I know you've rushed for more yardage over the years, but that execution of that zone read Friday night was about as clean and as crisp as I can remember with Goodson and Sargent, your offensive line. And, it takes timing for Spencer to hand the ball off at the right time, too.
It does. And to your point, I think that's probably as well as our line's played in quite some time. The guys up front did a really nice job. The tight ends did a good job. Sean Byer really blocked well. Sam's usually pretty steady there. And kudos to the receivers, too, getting in there and digging it out, digging out DBs and giving us a chance to make some extra yardage. You'll see Brandon, you'll see Amir, you'll see Tyrone down there working hard. And, the fullbacks, too, they're unsung heroes, but Monty's doing a great job, as is Turner. So, it's a real team effort when you can run the ball efficiently, and thought our guys did a good job of that. And that's something that will help us down the road as well. Hopefully playing good defense, being able to run the ball effectively. It was pretty chilly, a little bit of a challenge throwing the ball the other night. But, if you can lean on the run game a little bit, that takes some pressure off everybody else. And Spencer did a good job, I think, just, being in command of the offense and keeping us right on target for the most part.
Tyler Goodson now has started eight games in succession, and he's rushed for 9 touchdowns. Now, some of those were goal line, I understand that, but he just looks so much more comfortable, and I guess that comes minute by minute, half by half, game by game, huh?
Yeah, I think it's true for any player, and whether it's a true second-year player like Tyler, who, last year as the year went on, looked more and more comfortable to us, and that's really what gave us the initiative to move him into the starting lineup. And, talk about Zach Van Valkenburg, he's an older guy, but not old in our system. So, now that he's got a feel for what we're doing, it's really improved his level of play. He's playing a lot more decisively and quick. And, Jack Kerner getting his hands on the ball, Riley Moss. Experience is a beautiful thing. And there's only one way to get it. You can't, you can't buy it. You can't give it to somebody. You have to go on and earn it. So, we're seeing that with Tyler. Tyler's, what I call a football guy. He just loves the game. He loves practice and prepares really well, loves his teammates, and just, has a really good energy about him. So that's how he plays. That's how he is off the field. That's how he is on the practice field. So he's a real, positive guy on our football team.
And Kirk, what a luxury it is to have a running back like Mekhi Sargent, who not only is good, he's got 4 touchdowns on his own, but accepts his role and takes advantage of his moment.
You talk about an outstanding young guy, just stellar. Attitude is just so good. He's appreciative of the opportunity. He's been in a junior college place, and that's not a knock on any junior colleges, but it's a different level. And I coached at the University of Maine, played at the University of Connecticut, whole different level, facility-wise, all those things. And Mekhi sees that and really appreciates that, appreciates the opportunity to get an education. He's doing a great job in the classroom, and I can't think of a better guy on our football team, just a better guy. There's a reason why he's been selected captain each week this season by his peers, and he's just a first-class guy, and he'd be starting on most teams at running back. I mean, we feel like we have 3 guys that could start just about in any year for us with Mekhi and also Ivory. So it's just a really good room. It's a good room of players. They're really good football players, but more importantly, they're the kind of teammates you want. And I mentioned Ivory. Ivory and Mekhi are both doing a great job on special teams too, and that's that just shows you they're team guys. They want to help us win.
You've seen some of those holes we've been showing on some of those runs. We had Alaric Jackson as our Iowa pork lineman of the game. Might have been Alaric's best 60 minutes of football, at least this season.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about guys playing well, and there's another one. We talk about experience. A year ago, I thought he had really had a good spring. Then last year came into the season really good August and got hurt early in the season. And then, when he did come back, he never quite hit stride until later on to even be near where he was when he was injured. So it's so good to see him right now as a senior playing. He's playing his best football. Again, great attitude, just really easy to coach and work with out on the field. Very attentive listener. And, he's playing, I'm not going to say flawlessly right now, but he's playing pretty proficiently. And he's a really good player. And again, just a tremendous young guy to work with, and just a really good guy to have on our team.
Well, before we go to a break, Kirk, I got to ask you about Torrey Taylor. We talked about him when we started this segment. He's now second in the Big Ten at just under 46 yards a punt. Last week was another example of how he studies the game and is figuring out American football maybe on a fast track. But all 3 of his punts were inside the 20, a couple of them down around the 5-yard line. And here's a kid who surveys the field. He'll kick it out at the 5 on either side. Doesn't matter to him. Into the wind, with the wind. This kid is developing into a remarkable story, and he's just a freshman.
I think you just kind of touched on the most amazing part to me. Maybe the secret is he didn't know football and didn't know enough to be concerned about things. But he just kind of looks like he's out there playing, and that's the way he is at practice. First of all, he's a real delightful guy to visit with and just, to be around. He's got a really good energy, a very positive vibe to him. But, normally kickers are very attentive and, just ultra sensitive to what the wind's doing, where the sun's at, all that stuff. And I'm not saying Torrey isn't, but he sure doesn't show it. Like, he just doesn't seem to be affected by it. And as you know, we've been in tricky wind conditions here now the last couple of weeks. And I'll say the same thing about Charlie Jones. Charlie doesn't seem to be affected. And that is tough to catch a ball, punted a ball in windy conditions. He's handled that well. And then at the other end, Torrey's doing the same thing, punting the ball. It doesn't seem to faze him. And probably the biggest surprise for me, and I'm no expert on punting or kicking, but I didn't anticipate him maybe being a good plus 50 guy, because that, it requires a little bit of calculation, touch, all those kinds of things. I thought he'd be a guy maybe just to bang the ball and, see how high and how far he can kick it. But, he's punting the ball, the plus 50 stuff like he's been doing it for 10 years, and I know that he hasn't. So that to me might be the most impressive and most amazing part of his story. And his story is pretty good anyway, but that might be, really the most interesting part of the whole thing so far.
Long and accurate. Boy, what a double bonus there, the daily double, Torrey Taylor. And they'll all be needed Saturday when the Hawks head to Penn State. And we'll talk with Kirk. We'll pick up on the Iowa-Penn State line when we return after a timeout. We're brought to you tonight by U.S. Cellular. U.S. Cellular is the official wireless sponsor of the Iowa Hawkeyes and Hawkeye football. U.S. Cellular, connecting Hawkeye Nation. And for those of you watching on our live stream, I'm decked out in my authentic brand gear, my jacket, and I've got Farm Strong, my Iowa Farm Strong cap on. You can get all this wonderful-looking apparel at authentic-brand.com. Gear up for the Hawkeyes' next home game. That'll be Nebraska, coming up here a week from Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Gear up with a lineup of authentic brand apparel. Great Iowa company making Hawkeye apparel for men, women, and the kids. Christmas is coming. Be a great time to shop online at authentic-brand.com. It's the apparel Eddie and I wear on game days. Find at local retailers or order online. Authentic brand, look authentic, feel authentic, be authentic. And we're coming right back from Kinnick Stadium with more Hawk Talk and Coach Ferentz right after this.
It all started with a grilled cheese sandwich. 2 simple pieces of bread, some butter, and a slice of American cheese. But after making it day after day, week after week, I hungered for more. Colby, provolone, Gouda. But Gouda wasn't good enough. I wanted great. I added tomatoes, pickles, jalapenos. If I could birth this gooey work of art in my tiny, modest kitchen, imagine what I could do in a gourmet chef's kitchen. So I called U.S. Bank about loaning me some extra cheddar. Now I had the mad cheese skill and a superior grill. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Like any winning team, it takes every part of EMC insurance companies working together to successfully ensure that our agents, policyholders, and employees can count on EMC. And they do. They count on our broad range of insurance products and services. They count on our superior level of personalized service, and they trust that we will continue to be a financially stable partner, just like we have been for more than 100 years. All of this makes EMC one of the nation's premier insurance companies, and that's something you can always count on.
Mid-American Energy and you, together partnering to change the energy landscape by pioneering money-saving, energy efficiency programs and building a new industry in Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping your rates low. So what's next? We'll keep delivering cost-effective energy efficiency programs while putting money back in your pocket. That's right. You decide how best to spend your savings. That's a partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way we're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
Staying connected means games can still feel like this, even if they actually sound like this.
That's why U.S. Cellular is building a 5G network that works from outside to inside uninterrupted,
so you can stay connected even if you aren't at the game.
Right now, get unlimited data for just $30 a month. Check out uscellular.com for more info. U.S. Cellular. Upgrade to Fair. Data may be temporarily slower than other traffic and times of congestion. Video streams at up to 480p DVD quality. Credit approval and autopay paperless billing required. Additional terms apply.
Experience the benefit of Blue with a Medicare supplement plan from Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. With our plans, you'll enjoy nationwide access to care, optional dental, vision, and hearing coverage, and more. Call 1-888-616-8927 or go online to wellmark.com/Medicare plans. You may even qualify for a special household discount. This is the benefit of Blue. Wellmark Blue Dental product available to Iowa residents only. Must reside in the service area of the plan. Wellmark Medicare supplement insurance plans are not connected with or endorsed by any government agency.
Hello, my name is Lance Lillibridge. I am an Iowa corn farmer. During this harvest season, you will find me sitting in the combine and also sitting in the stands cheering on local sports teams. Supporting my community is important to me, and you can do the same to support Iowa farmers by choosing E15 or unleaded 88 when fueling up at the pump, purchasing corn-fed meat at the grocery store, and filling up your water bottle with safe drinking water from the tap. I believe Iowans are truly stronger together. Go to iowacorn.org to learn more about how you can support Iowa farmers.
Welcome back to Hawk Talk with Iowa football coach Kirk Ferentz. We're brought to you by View Rooftop and by Wellmark. Enjoy peace of mind in these changing times with the Wellmark, or the Medicare supplement plan that 9 out of 10 stay with year after year. Available from Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Visit wellmark.com/benefitofblue and check out their Medicare supplement plans. You can join us on Twitter tonight at Gary Dolphin or Facebook.com/VoiceOfTheHawks if you'd like to ask Kirk a question. As I mentioned, View Rooftop, downtown Iowa City in the Hilton Garden Inn, is normally our home, away from home for Hawk Talk. We'll be there back there next year. After this COVID thing moves on down the road. You can watch our shows, by the way, weekly on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Just search Hawkeye Radio Network on YouTube, and we thank our friends at KCRG 9.2 for televising or bringing you our live production each and every week from the press box here at Kinnick Stadium. Iowa at Penn State for a 2:30 kick on Saturday, 12:30 for the pregame show with yours truly and with Edward J. Podolak. Before we preview Penn State, Coach, this just breaks your heart every time, and thankfully it's not often, but when it happens, you're at a loss for words. But we love all of our Hawk fans dearly as they love the Hawks, and we lost a 17-year-old beautiful young lady this past week. Her name was Brooke Langland. She was a senior at Liberty High School here in Iowa City. Outstanding member of the dance team. Very athletic, very active. Her funeral is tomorrow. Just tragic circumstances. Suffered a pulmonary embolism. Essentially a blood clot developed, broke loose, and took her life. And Brooke, I'm told, could recite Niall Kinnick's Heisman speech from memory. That's all you need to know about her passion for her beloved black and gold. But Kirk, we know their family well. Dr. John Langland, one of the outstanding orthopedic surgeons in this community. Wife Tracy, well-known family, very involved in the community. Love their Hawkeyes, and in fact, I'm told they went on several of the cruises with the Hawkeye coaches. Correct? Your thoughts?
Yeah, they've been on cruises many times with us, and John and Tracy are just tremendous people. So, our heart breaks for them. It's such a sad occurrence, and I just can't even imagine. So, our deepest sympathies and condolences to the whole family. It's really a sad thing.
So to the Langlands and their friends and relatives and neighbors, know that we're thinking about you tonight. Our Hawkeye family mourns as you do. Her funeral is tomorrow afternoon here in Iowa City. Coach, let's look ahead to Penn State. I never thought I'd be sitting here talking about an 0-4 Penn State team. I listened to your press conference yesterday. You basically had the same thought. But as we all know, turnovers and getting down by a couple scores early in a game, whether you're home or away, really sets the table in the wrong way. And they're trying to climb out of that 4-game skid here to start the year. What are your general thoughts about James Franklin's team? Because you still got Sean Clifford at quarterback, and the backup came in. Levis quite a bit last week, played well. They've always got a physical defense. They always have great skill position players. What's different that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I know they've had bad seasons at Penn State. I just don't really remember when they were. I mean, might have been before electricity. So they've been pretty good for a long, long time. And they recruit well. They've always recruited well, to my knowledge. They've always had a good coaching staff there. That's the same. When you look on the film, they've got a lot of talented players. It's one thing they have good recruiting classes, but they've got good players at every position. And if I'd point to one thing right now, it's kind of the same thing that affected us or impacted us a lot early in the season was turnover battle. When you turn the ball over, especially early, it's not good at any time. Let me rephrase that. But they've done it, and they've gotten behind the 8 ball a little bit early in games, and that it makes a big difference. It just makes winning games very, very tough. It's tough to win in college football, period. But there's no question their talent, their coaching doesn't match their record right now, and I wouldn't expect that to last long. I just hope we can somehow, some way get through this week and then hope they win them all after that. But it's going to be a tough game. There's no question about it. They've got really good players. They've got a good system, good scheme. It's been proven time in, time out. So, we're going to have our hands full on Saturday.
Yeah, and their quarterbacks have hurt the Hawkeyes, especially these close games. Trace McSorley, I still have nightmares over that game-ending touchdown pass 3 years ago. But Clifford, with his legs, he can hurt you. He's very gifted. Now, he's had 6 interceptions and lost 2 fumbles, but that's very unlike him. If you got the normal Sean Clifford, what are you defending against?
Well, just what you said. He'll run the ball. Both their quarterbacks will run the ball, and they'll run it effectively. And then they're both they've got a good passing game too. So it's a complementary offense. The coordinator was actually at Minnesota last year. Excuse me. So I'm sure they're going through a little transition right now within the system, but they look good. They run the ball. They throw it. The quarterback runs it, which is always a dimension you have to take into account. Go back to Braxton Miller with Ohio State right on through. When you have a quarterback that will run the ball by design as well as throw it pretty, with talent and ability, and they've got good players at every position, it just makes it really tough to defend them, and that's what you're looking at here. They've got good receivers, got a veteran line, a lot of good players there, and they've got, I can't remember Penn State not ever having good backs. So, and the tight end's a big target, he's 6'7", number 87, I believe. So he's a big target, and the second tight end's good too. So they've got talent. There's no question about that.
Yeah, you speak of Pat Freiermuth at tight end. He's a prototypical. He looks like a prototypical Iowa tight end.
Yeah, we'll take him if they want to trade him. That'd be great by us. But he's done a good job for him. They had a good one before, the guy playing down in Miami now. So they've it's part of what they do. And this guy's. He's problematic. He's a big target, obviously, and then he can take it and go with it too. You mentioned their running backs. We can go back 30, 40 years to All-American running backs, starting with Franco Harris. But Devin Ford has been the main guy. He's a young sophomore out of Virginia. They lost a couple backs to injuries, including Noah Cain. That probably has slowed their run game a little bit. But the backup kid is a pure freshman, Keziah Holmes. They're raving about him for the future. Devin Ford was highly recruited coming out of Virginia. They've got very capable people at every position. To your point, defensively, I look at their defensive two deeps and I see Shaka Toney and I see P.J. Mustipher. I see Antonio Shelton, Tariq Castro Fields. They always got big, strong, athletic linebackers. A lot of the same names we've peaked at the last couple of years. Yeah, and part of that is they play a lot of players, typically in their defensive rotation. But, yeah, they got a bunch of guys. They've got good size, good speed. Their inside guys on defense are big guys, 300-plus pound guys, plus in some cases. And then outside guys are a little bit more linear, almost like big linebacker-type players. Good pass rush guys, both 18 and 28, 20. So they've got some guys that can really, get up the field and kind of be disruptive from the outside. Linebackers are very talented, very athletic, good size, good range. And then the back end, Castro Fields on the one side, and then they've got Joey Porter's son at the other corner. So, it's a good group of guys. And, I can't remember ever walking on the field, not looking at their team and saying, oh, okay, that's pretty impressive. Like, they just look good, and they've got good athletes that play well, too. So it's a good group. You mentioned Franco Harris. Lydell Mitchell was the other guy in that backfield. That's two first-rounders. And, the pitch to Mitch, right? They used to give him the ball more than they gave Franco. But anyway, two pretty talented guys. I do remember Lydell Mitchell. I had forgotten they were in the same backfield. Can you imagine – two Hall of Famers, Lydell Mitchell and Franco Harris. Well, I tell you what, as Joe Pa told me one time, he would vote for Hayden Fry for Big Ten Coach of the Year every year. This was in an elevator in Chicago at the Big Ten meetings one July. And I said, Coach, that's very kind of you. He said, no, let me tell you something, son. He goes, I looked at a map of Iowa. From the Quad Cities to Council Bluffs, it's 300 miles. You've got, 3 million people in the entire state. Do you know within 100 miles of State College, we are, 100 miles of State College, they got 80 million people. He said, that's why I vote for Hayden Fry for Coach of the Year every year. I thought that was a very extremely complimentary of Coach Fry. Of course, I know they knew each other well, but when they sit out there at Mount Nittany, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, you grew up there. Yeah, they're great proximity to a lot of population. New York, New Jersey, go down to Baltimore, Virginia area. Shift over to Pennsylvania, the whole state of Pennsylvania. Go into Cleveland.
Yeah,
and they've recruited well out of Cleveland, the state of Ohio, and then go up north to the upstate New York area. So over the years, a lot of their players from that region still much that same way. They reach out and get a couple guys from further away, but that's basically the core of their team. Probably about a 300-mile radius, and gives them a great advantage. It's a great college town. They do have 2 pro football teams in the state, but it's really unusual because they sit right in the center there, and on Saturdays they pretty much own the state for that point. So it's a little bit like being in a Midwestern state, only it's Pennsylvania. And just for the record, Eastern PA and Western PA couldn't be more different. There's Eastern PA is East Coast, and Western PA is a lot more Midwestern. So it's kind of an interesting state that way. When I went to college, guys, people didn't understand the difference. They thought everything was like Philadelphia. It's not. People in Pittsburgh actually smile every now and then.
I was waiting for some kind of comment, but would you ever hear of, when people talk about Western PA, there have been movies about the great football players in Western Pennsylvania. You think of Joe Namath, Joe Montana, Mike Ditka. I'm going to leave out some great names, but a lot of quarterbacks. Marino. Dan Marino, yeah, there's one I just jumped in my head. But, I know you grew up in Pittsburgh, and so you... And
Johnny Unitas, there's another.
Oh, he wasn't bad, was he? Johnny U? Amazing.
Playing for the Bloomfield Rams for about $50 a game.
Bloomfield, what was that, semi-pro?
It's a semi-pro team, yeah. The Coach Mark Gibrota, who I worked with, right? He laughed. There was a picture somebody sent me one time of Johnny Unitas, Joe Moore, my high school coach, 2 other people. And I showed Coach Mark Gibrota the picture because one of the other people in the picture was one of his good friends at St. Bonaventure. And he started laughing. And I said, "What are you laughing at, Coach?" He goes, "Do you realize the Pittsburgh Steelers cut Johnny Unitas to keep me?" And that is true. That's a true story. And that's back when the Steelers were sad sacks. They couldn't win against anybody. They cut Johnny Unitas, so the rest is history.
That's a great story. The Steelers were down until they won the coin flip and drafted Terry Bradshaw. And
that's when it all got going.
1969.
Bradshaw, Joe Green, those 2 guys.
The rest was history. I know that because the Bears lost the coin flip with
there you go
with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I was going to talk to you before we take a break about Spencer Petras. What are the keys then for him through this weekend's trip to Penn State? But I want to go to Twitter. Curtis would like to know and kind of speaks to that. Coach, how do you feel about Spencer Petras' growth through 4 games? How has he matured and developed, do you feel?
I feel good. We felt good about Spencer coming into the season, and I mentioned in the media, seems like 3 days ago, it was yesterday. One thing I think everybody needs to keep in mind is, Spencer didn't have the luxury of a normal 15-day spring practice session, which goes over 5 weeks. Didn't have the luxury of having a normal summer to work with the rest of the guys. And that really, it's not everything, but it really helps a quarterback, especially. It helps every position, but it helps a quarterback with his development, a young quarterback. And I made that kind of jokingly, that comment back whenever it was in May that, by what I could tell, it looked like the pandemic was going to feature teams that had experienced quarterbacks and also, good genetics. But, that's not the way it shaped out for us this year. And I think Spencer's done a really good job each and every opportunity. You learn through gaining experience. Number one, he's been in good control out there. He's got his facilities working mentally, and if he does miss something, he knows what he's missing. He's seeing things the way he should see them. So it's just a matter of, him getting more experience, getting a little bit more accurate with some of his throws and being a little bit more decisive. Like every position out there, the difference is the position he plays is a lot more challenging. Not only in that a demeaning way to the other people, but there's nobody making more decisions, having more responsibility, more things to think about on the field than the quarterback. And that's part of our job, to make sure that we're trying to give him some things that are, give him things that he can really feel pretty comfortable with. But, still, all that being said, there's a lot going on out there.
There sure is. It's like trying to catch a train and a bus at the same time at that position. He looked a little bit more comfortable on Friday night, and he seems to be settling in with each series for the Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll talk more about Spencer and with Coach Ferentz when we come back. Time for a break here on Hawk Talk with Coach Ferentz. We're brought to you by View Rooftop, a high-energy rooftop bar with a spectacular view of downtown Iowa City and the surrounding countryside. View Rooftop, located on the 12th floor of the Hilton Garden Inn in Iowa City, features a distinctly modern escape filled with a unique outdoor design. Open all day on Hawkeye football game days, including this Saturday against the Penn State Nittany Lions. Stop down in to View Rooftop, providing a memorable experience, great food, obviously tasty beverages, and outstanding music, as well as fantastic views of Iowa City's skyline. 319-519-4650 is the phone number for reservations. 319-519-4650. Neil and the crew will take good care of you down there. View Rooftop, downtown Iowa City in the Hilton Garden Inn. Hawk fans, make sure you go to HawkeyeSports.com to download and listen to the official podcast, our weekly podcast of the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's called Fight for Iowa. It's sponsored by the Iowa Lottery. And we just loaded in the great Dan Gable today. We had a very telling, insightful conversation with Dan about he being the latest. He is going to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Trump here before the end of the year. Doesn't have a date yet, but he's a little fidgety, a little nervous about that. Dan Gable has been called the greatest athlete in the history of mankind by Sports Illustrated or Sporting News, I can't remember which, years ago. And it's a good time to hop on our Fight for Iowa podcast presented by the Iowa Lottery and listen to the latest from Grandpa Dan Gable. That's our Fight for Iowa podcast. We'll come back to Kinnick Stadium right after this brief pause.
Now order your groceries online and get them even faster with Hy-Vee Aisles Online same-day pickup. Just choose the Get It Faster option for only $9.95 and pick up your groceries in as little as 2 hours. Plus, we've added even more pickup times to choose from. You'll find the same great deals as in-store. Free pickup on orders over $30 and no-contact pickup and delivery. Download the Hy-Vee Grocery app today and pick up groceries in as little as 2 hours. Some restrictions apply.
Hawk fans, this is Ed Podolak. Whether I'm relaxing on Flamingo Beach in Costa Rica or fishing north on the Boundary Waters, one Iowa product I'll always bring is my Grizzly Cooler. Grizzly Coolers are made in Decorah and are perfect for your next fishing trip, the big hunt, or tailgate. The Grizzly lineup offers the perfect balance of durability and performance that is expected in a made-in-the-USA premium cooler. And you can even order Hawkeye Grizzly Coolers and drinkware. Order yours now at grizzlycoolers.com.
Tomorrow. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, as we have for over 100 years. So you can look forward to it too. Through growth and innovation, we are planning ahead, so you can enjoy life without looking back. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Auto, home, farm, and business insurance. Talk to an agent today or visit GrinnellMutual.com. Trust in Tomorrow is a registered trademark of Grinnell Mutual Reinsurance Company.
What does greatness look like? It's one of those things, while not always obvious, everyone understands. It's your fourth grade teacher who always listened to you. The lady at your coffee shop who asks about your Jack Russell every visit. Your neighbor who's right there for you with good advice on just about everything. Greatness is sometimes the smallest act of kindness with the largest impact. At Great Southern Bank, we understand what makes our community great are the people. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. Member FDIC.
Iowa's medical cannabis program has new products available to you now. Due to the removal of the 3% THC limit, THC vapes with and without terpenes are now available at dispensaries across Iowa. Medical cards are available to Iowans with chronic pain, PTSD, and many other approved conditions. Fight pain in a new way. Getting your medical cannabis card here in Iowa is easy. Just talk to your doctor and join thousands of Iowans using medical cannabis today. Google Iowa Medical Cannabis, CANNABIS. Feel better, live better with Iowa Medical Cannabis.
Hi, I'm Gary Dolphin, and if you want your home to be exceptionally comfortable during these cold Iowa winters and hot, humid summers, you need to turn to Dave Lennox and your local Lennox home comfort specialist. Lennox has been serving Iowa consumers since 1895, when Dave Lennox built his first furnace in Marshalltown, and Lennox is still building its high-efficiency furnaces and air conditioners there today. For the best home comfort system you can buy, it's Lennox and your local Lennox dealer. Lennox and the Hawkeyes. Now there's a winning combination. Welcome back to Hawk Talk with Iowa football coach Kirk Ferentz. Thank you, Hawkeye fans, for checking in on our Facebook and Twitter pages tonight. If you have a question or a comment for Coach Ferentz, you can reach us on Twitter at Gary Dolphin or Facebook.com/Voice of the Hawks. We've got John listening in, watching in down in Tallahassee. Looks like Dwight is in South Dakota. Jeff is in Anamosa. We've got Eric tuning up in Wisconsin. In fact, Kirk, Eric has a question. Coach, what has impressed you most this year about this team off the field, given everything that's happened with the COVID? That's an interesting question. Does something jump out at you, generally speaking?
Yeah, I think they've been tremendous. They've had a great attitude and been very flexible and have adapted, I think, very, very well and adjusted things. Really what we're doing as a football team, a football program is probably no different than what everybody in our country's been doing. Just, you're going day to day. You're trying to be as smart as you can about what it is you're doing. But it's like the virus, things look a little bit differently now than they did, 3 months ago on this whole thing. So it's constant change, more information's gotten, and, you learn a little bit more, do this, don't do that. And it's kind of been that way in our entire lives. Think about our student athletes, their world in the classroom going back to March, transitioning from being in class to going online for the rest of the semester. Summer was unusual in every regard. Those that were in class, which we tried to restrict that as much as possible. The guys in class had a different world. The training was very, very different because of the COVID situation, quarantines, et cetera. So it's just been nothing but, unusual in every regard. There's nothing we can compare it to. And probably at the top of the list in my mind, think about our first year guys, right? They normally come in here early June. This year, I think it was June 8th. They get here, you typically take 6 hours of class work. They train, everything's on a regimen, if you will, and everything's laid out for them. And then this year, there was no summer school for the first year guys. Our training was voluntary. Then, we had issues with quarantines, illnesses, all those kinds of things. So basically, they had to spend a couple months over there in the dormitory and really couldn't do much and couldn't go anywhere. So I think they've been extraordinary. And they've got great attitudes. They show up every day with a smile on their face, work hard. So, there's been nothing normal about it. And same way as the football. You got me thinking about it. You mentioned next week being Thanksgiving. We're 4 games into our season, and Thanksgiving's a week from now. So the psychologically, it just doesn't make sense. But it's the reality of what we're doing right now, and it's perfectly fitting with everything else that's happened. So there just is nothing normal right now. And but like what I'm saying, that's us. That's our lives. I think probably every American's gone through the same thing in some way, some method. It's been very different.
And as you have said weekly or often, certainly, yeah, you want to win the game, but you and the players are just delighted to be playing a game. I was reading again today, getting updates here that we're approaching double figures again this week of games either postponed or canceled, including Kansas and Texas off, several more high-profile games. Not that one's more important than the other, but just incredible that if obviously your kids, your guys, your players are doing the right thing, at least to this point, and you just hope to get through this week and move on to Nebraska a week from Friday.
Yeah, what you mentioned, I'm not really aware of. I haven't really come up for air yet this week. I'm not so sure what's going on, but I know last week there were games canceled, one in our conference. So it is clearly the reality that we're all faced with, and I know there are things going on nationally too, way bigger than football. So It's just something we've all been dealing with on a day-to-day basis. I think we're extremely fortunate to be in the Big Ten right now. This rapid testing is, to me, it was the only possibility of us playing football this year. Prior to this all coming around here at the end of September, I saw no way we were going to be able to play this year. So, we've been very fortunate in that regard. It's brought on a new level of stress because every time you take the test, and we typically take it in the morning, you don't know that text that you get from the trainer, or when you see the trainer, Cammie, coming down the hall, it's like, what's she coming for? And so it's just one more thing none of us have ever thought about before. But to that point, I think it's also created a real appreciation for just being able to do what we all love doing. The players, the coaches, this is what we love. We love having a chance to play college football, and somehow, some way, it's working right now. And but you can't look too far down the road. And there's no guarantees. You try to be as smart as you can, but there's no guarantees with this whole thing. So enjoy every day that you have, and every opportunity you have a chance to compete, then just enjoy it and try to maximize it.
Well, Thanksgiving is certainly going to be different this year around the dinner table, and for the kids going home from campus, please socially distance, do all the proper practicing, wear the masks when you're among family and friends, and we know how celebratory this next 30 to 40 days coming up can be. Coach, we'll be back. We got to take one more break before we get a final word from Coach Ferentz. Iowa, Penn State coming up Saturday afternoon, 2:30 for the kickoff and 12:30 for the pregame show here on the Hawkeye Radio Network. Hey, Iowa basketball. That Big Ten schedule is finally out. We'll give you a sneak preview of the Hawkeyes and their basketball games coming up. Starts next week, as a matter of fact. That's next here on Hawk Talk with Iowa coach Kirk Ferentz, brought to you by View Rooftop.
Hidden phone trade-ins, hidden plan requirements, hidden catches. You won't find them at US Cellular because we speak fair. Plus, when you switch right now, you can get $500 off the latest phones. That's right, $500 off the latest phones with no hidden requirements, no hidden plan requirements, no hidden phone trade-ins, and no hidden... You get the idea. Upgrade to fair. Upgrade to US Cellular. Requires new postpaid service plan, new line port-in, credit approval, qualified smartphone purchase, and comes via monthly bill credit on a 30-month RIC. Taxes, fees, and additional terms apply.
Get your ice cold Bud Light Seltzer here. Even though you can't go to the game, doesn't mean the game can't be brought to you now here. Just go to budlight.com/delivery. That's budlight.com/delivery.
Give me 2 mangoes.
Coming at you. It's a little short. Ow. Sorry. You know what? I'm just going to walk them over to you.
Whenever there's a game to watch, there's a Bud Light there. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, and Bud Light Seltzer, IRC Beer, beer in Texas, St. Louis, Missouri.
Experience the benefit of blue with a Medicare supplement plan from Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. With our plans, you'll enjoy nationwide access to care, optional dental, vision, and hearing coverage, and more. Call 1-888-616-8927 or go online to wellmark.com/Medicare plans. You may even qualify for a special household discount. This is the benefit of blue. Wellmark Blue Dental product available to Iowa residents only. Must reside in the service area of the plan. Wellmark Medicare supplement insurance plans are not connected with or endorsed by any government agency.
Primary care providers should be able to look at patients, read between the lines, and know something's not right. Hi, I'm Dr. Denise Martinez at University of Iowa Healthcare. 80% of conditions can be treated by a family medicine doctor, so our comprehensive and caring approach is key. And if it turns out to be serious or out of our scope, we'll connect you to the right specialists right away. With experts all across the region, find one near you at uihc.org.
How do you make it as a team? You build on what you got to build what you don't. It's a mentality Ford has applied to building for 117 years. Building trucks with grit, resilience, purpose. SUVs with boundary-pushing capabilities. Vehicles built just like the people they're built for. It's a work ethic that's made us America's best-selling brand. For low lease rates, great financing, and special offers, visit buyfordnow.com or your local Ford dealer. Proud supporter of college athletics. Claim 2019 CY total sales.
Welcome back. Our remaining moments with the head football coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Kirk Ferentz. Before we go back to Kirk, Iowa's basketball schedule. The fifth-ranked Hawkeyes with the consensus All-American Player of the Year candidate Luka Garza announced today. The Hawks open up next Wednesday, 3 p.m. with North Carolina Central at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Hosts Southern University on Friday night. North Carolina comes into Carver on December 8th. Northern Illinois, December 13th. Of course, Gonzaga out in South Dakota at the Pentagon with the Hawkeyes. That is on December 19th. The Big Ten schedule opens with Purdue here in Iowa City, December 22nd. All these games are kind of condensed or compressed, I guess. Minnesota then on Christmas Day. I don't know that Iowa has ever played on Christmas Day in Iowa City. They played in Christmas holiday tournaments, I know, but usually not in Iowa City. Then it's Northwestern, Rutgers, Maryland, Minnesota. Now, they only play Illinois once at Illinois. Sorry, Hawk fans. Of course, fans aren't allowed in anyway, but it's a great-looking schedule, and certainly the one that the Hawks will be up to the task for. And we do play again on Super Bowl Sunday. That has been a regular occurrence more often than not with Iowa basketball over the years. So we'll look forward to broadcasting a couple of hoops games next week in between that Nebraska football game on Friday. Work to be done, though, Saturday at Penn State. And as I turn back to Coach Ferentz, got a couple minutes left, Kirk. Iowa has not allowed 30 points to an opponent since November of 2018. That's a streak of 21 games 2 years ago. That's the longest streak in the country. Ohio State has a 19-game streak going, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Buffalo, and then that outstanding Cincinnati program. I was watching Phil Parker the other night. His defenses, how much of Norm Parker is there in Phil Parker?
Well, they got very different personalities. I don't know if anybody's got a personality like Phil. He's truly one of a kind.
By the way, they're not related. But, no relation at all, right?
No, not at all. They both have just done a wonderful job. Norm is like the foundation, the building block of this whole thing in my mind. He just did such a masterful job, from the time he was here till the time he retired. And then he was still around helping us. So his spirit, his fingerprints all over what we do, not only defensively, but just our whole program. He just was such a stabilizer. But Phil has done an outstanding job, and the entire staff. That Phil's leadership going back to when he took over, you could just see him becoming more and more comfortable being in that position. It's a little bit different than coaching the secondary. He does a great job of that as well. So the guys follow his lead, and I'll tell you what, he's coaching all the time. His staff, they coach all the time, and our guys, as a result, have played really, pretty good defense, team defense over the years here. And that, I think fundamentally in any team sport, if you can play good defense, you have a chance to be consistently good, and that's something we've tried to build on 22 years ago when we got going here.
No doubt the Hawks will be looking to provide more of the same tough D at Penn State. 2:30 kick on Saturday, 12:30 pregame show. Before we leave, Kirk, we got a late check-in here on Twitter from Jeff. Kirk, will you keep the same offensive line scheme and personnel even if the original starters are healthy this week and going forward?
Yeah, I think this week, Collar Shot's not going to be back this week, so I think we're a week away from him. Coy Cronk, we'll see what it looks like, but I'm not overly optimistic, so we'll see what happens. But the other night we played pretty much 6 guys, rotated them through, and we'll probably keep with that rotation as Coy and Collar get back. We'll rotate those guys in there as well. And the good news is the guys that have stepped in and been called upon have played really well. Mark Kallenberger's done a really nice job. Cody Ince has done a good job. And Justin Britt, we're watching him improve, not every week, but daily. And that's exciting. He's got a great attitude, tremendous young man. So, it's a little bit like the linebacker situation we talked about earlier when Benson and Campbell weren't in there. You got other guys picking up the slack, and now they're back. And if you can get through those periods, it really helps you develop some depth and flexibility as a team, and in the long run makes you stronger and better. So pleased with the response of the guys thus far. We got another big challenge this week up front. They've got some guys that can play, so we're going to have to really be at our best on Saturday. And we're sure the Hawks will be. Coach, always great to have you here on Wednesday night for an hour or so. Thanks for your time. We'll see you out in Happy Valley, out in Kirk Ferentz' home state. Sounds good, Gary. Thanks.
Coach Ferentz, and I'm Gary Dolphin. We've been brought to you tonight by View Rooftop in the Hilton Garden Inn, downtown Iowa City. Join us again next Wednesday. We will be here after the basketball game, by the way, for another edition of Hawk Talk Wednesday night. So we got a full week next week. Pre-happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Good night from Kinnick Stadium.
On the Hawkeye Sports Network from Learfield IMG College, you've been listening to Hawk Talk, presented by View Rooftop Iowa City. Also brought to you by Bud Light. Whenever there's a game to watch, there's a Bud Light there. Ford, inviting you to visit your local Ford